Hello and welcome to another edition of Choose to Challenge. I'm LaWanna Bradford and I'm excited because today we have a special guest. Angel Theodore will be joining us and we're going to sort of unpackage what it means for women in particular who find themselves in a crowd. What do I mean by being in a crowd? Right now, we know there's a lot going on. People are feeling a lot of pressure, anxiety, wearing multiple hats, from juggling their careers to being a caregiver, sandwiched between two generations, just trying to figure out what, right? And with that comes the need for support, to be seen, to be heard, but then to have that safe space to comfortably navigate, because we know that mental and emotional health are so critical for us to be our best selves. That it first starts with self-awareness, being able to reach out again in a trusting, safe environment to have the conversations. And so without stealing her thunder, in just a moment, you will meet none other than the amazing Angel Theodore.
Hello.
Hey, Angel, how's it going?
It's going pretty well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining. And I'm real excited about this conversation. We've got a lot packed in a short period of time. And if it's okay with you, I just want to jump right in.
Yeah. Let's make the most of this time.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about you. And you had your journey from the corporate side. There was somewhere in your life, maybe it was in corporate, maybe even before, you had this wake up, this epiphany as to this critical need around women. Mm-hmm. And now you're doing your own thing. You're rocking and rolling as an entrepreneur and really touching and changing lives in a positive way. So if it's okay, let's just sit into your backstory a little bit.
Yeah.
What was your corporate career? Because, I was thinking, I don't think I ever asked you that question.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny. I have a big background in nonprofit work in marketing and communications. So those two backgrounds together are really heavy, because you have your heart and the mission and all of those things, but sometimes the resources are really stretched, right? And so you're just pouring, giving. And sometimes you don't see the benefit, or not necessarily the benefit, but, for example, homelessness, right? There's all these resources to help people with homelessness and to get back on their feet. But with the economy and the cost of rent, gas, all those things, it can be hard to kind of see the benefit of things, because you help some people get their life back together, and then there's 10 other people that end up on the streets because of the economy. So that's my background, and seeing that aspect, and then a little bit about me growing up, I wanted to fit in. I think everyone would want to fit in, right? But I grew up in a neighborhood where I was the only girl that looked like me. I also was dyslexic and did not know that until I was 26. And so I was like, I feel so different. What is wrong with me? So I worked to conform and to try to be like everyone else. And then in my corporate career, I was pushing, going, and trying to overcompensate to be like, I belong here. I'm just like you. But it caused me to burn out in 2019. And I ended up in urgent care in the ER 2 times before COVID hit. So this happened December 2019. All the way until COVID hit and the world shut down. I was in the ER in urgent care because I had stress-related illnesses from all of the, I need to fit in, I need to do, I need to conform, push. And I had a lot of heart and care behind it, but it caught up with me. So in those aspects, God showed me, what does it mean to take care of yourself? What does it mean to stand in your strengths? Just because I'm dyslexic and learned a different way doesn't mean I don't have strengths to offer this world. What does it mean to share your opinion and to stand in who you are instead of trying to be like everyone else? So that's how I got in this work. And after talking to hundreds of women, I realized I wasn't the only one. And there's so many women going through similar things, or they feel like they have to do things a certain way, be a mom a certain way, be a C-suite executive a certain way. And that's not true. Yes, there is a foundation, but bring your own flavor to it. And that's what I help women to do.
I love that. And I was interested in your word choice. So we're gonna go back and unpackage this. You conform,
Yes.
corporate pressure, compensate, care. So let's talk about conforming, because why do you feel, just as you mentioned, you've spoken to hundreds of women and just your own lived experience, why do women feel that we have to conform in order to be accepted or even seen? I mean, what's the backstory that's even driving that, do you think?
I think it starts in childhood. From a young age, women and girls were taught to be agreeable, say yes, be polite, do this, all of those things, right? And then in the generation coming up, it was you need to go to college, get a degree, and then you'll be successful. You also see the media of what it means to be a successful woman. You have to be like this hard business owner woman. You have to have the 2 kids and you have to be involved in the kids' life, but then you also have to have your business. You have to work out, but you can't work out in order to be thin. You have to work out in order to be healthy. And these 3 things have put women into a box and a big contradiction. And I don't know if you recognized part of what I was saying towards the end, like the last paragraph, but that was a part of a monologue from the Barbie movie that came out in 2024. It's America Ferrera's big monologue, but it talks about the pressures that women have. And when I've talked to women in real life, they are experiencing these same pressures. Like, you have to do this, but you can't do this. And it's just kind of like, which way do I go? How can I be me? Right? And so these are the things that have put women into this way of conforming, because otherwise you won't be looked at as good enough or successful or all of those things. And there's also a double standard in society as well. So a woman who is assertive might be called bossy or rude or overstepping, right? But if a man does it, he is assertive, he takes charge, he can command a room. And so there's a double standard that we are seeing in society, and that's where that pressure of conformity comes from.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting in the examples that you gave, and thank you for that. As you said, it first starts off, when we were young. What are our parents telling us? Be quiet. That's one thing, right? Children should be seen and not heard. So we start to, before we even find our voice, our voice has been stifled.
Yeah, that's true. Sad.
And then you're taught, you need to behave this way. You need to do this. And then I don't know where, maybe it was in the whole women's movement in our entry into corporate, in the large numbers. It's like, okay, well, in order for me to compete at this level, then I need to be very masculine, right?
Yes.
You and I've talked about that. We need to be into that masculine energy, because that's where the strength is, that's where opportunity lies.
Exactly.
Climbing the corporate ladder. But if I'm too soft, whatever soft means, then it's going to be misperceived.
Yes, I totally agree.
One of the things that you and I talked about, because and I'll just use myself as a case study here for this conversation. Coming from corporate, but also my career field was totally male dominated. I was a statistician, and I was working on fiber optics and satellite communications for the Department of Defense. So you can see how the women's representation was very, very, very tiny. And with that, everyone you saw, your peers or the mentors, didn't look like you, or act like you. And so that's who you emulated. That was what I looked at. And I find personally some value in it. Well, a lot of value, actually, because it's made me who I am today. But it's quite interesting, Angel, that now God has me going down this other path
Mhm.
where I'm touching more women. And I'm like, okay, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't communicate with them in the same way or the same, just matter of fact, bottom line,
Yeah.
the way I would in a male dominated setting. So what
Yeah.
would you say to someone like me? Because there are a lot of women like me out
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah. First of all, I would say there is grace. Again, the way we were brought up in society, and for a long time, we had to do that to be comfortable. But I want to ask anyone out there to reflect and think about, how has that made you feel? And I'll now use myself as a case study. I mean, it burnt me out. Like, I would be like, I'm coming, I'm dominating, I'm walking through the office in my heels. But then I'd feel tired because I was working out of the masculine executive energy, right? And I thought for a long time to be feminine was weak. Not gonna lie, and there's a lot of reasons in society, in the church, women, it's taught that we're the weaker vessel. If you ever want to learn about the context with that, just email me, because there's a lot of meaning behind that. Women were seen as not serious and all of those things. And so I would, again, conform. But when you tap into your femininity, you have less friction. It's actually a strength. So going to scripture, I will drop a little nugget here. When it says like women are the lesser vessel, it means that we're more delicate in a sense, right? So I've heard it once said that men are kind of like hydro flask water bottles, right? And women are like crystal glass, right? They're both great. They're both used for drinking, but one, crystal glass, is used for like celebration. It should be held with care and honor and joy, right? The hydro flask, you can take it hiking, you can clunk it, all of those things, right? And if it drops on the ground, then you can pick it back up. But if that crystal falls, it will shatter, right? So women should be held with more care and honor. Also, when God says that he will send a helpmate, if you look up the Hebrew word of helpmate, it means ruach, which means rescuer. So women, we are the rescuers, not to get into like a savior complex, but we are so strong and needed and valued in this world. So getting back to the femininity, tapping into the softness of who you are can change a boardroom. It can change the atmosphere. You don't always have to be like executive, right? And have that more, I don't want to say aggressive energy, but you don't have to push and be somebody that you're not, essentially. So I hope that kind of helps answer that question and give you an aspect of like the case studies and the femininity and all of those things.
No, I think it's great, and I love that you mentioned that we do take that, and it's like, okay, it's got the negative connotation to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where that was born, because it didn't come from men, actually. I think women we can sometimes be our own worst enemy.
We could, yeah.
Right?
Once upon a time, I was out of breathing room. I didn't know what it was called, but I love having a label for it. So if we can define it, we can address it. And so breathing room is that space between your current pace and your limits and your abilities. So in breathing room, is really important that we have that space between what we are capable of doing and what our limits are. And it's a very important concept, and is catching on fire with our mommies and our women in our little corner of the world. And I'm so pleased that we will learn more, we will be happier people, and not so stressed out, and we will operate in the love zone and not the fear zone.
You mentioned that you're in 2019 that you experienced stress-related illness. You had burnout, you were in the ER, urgent care. I was looking at some stats, and this was pretty staggering. It said 56% of women, and we're just focusing on here in the US, I'm sorry, 46% experience burnout, 46%, and 57% experience anxiety, stress, and stress-related disorders. Those numbers are staggering and frightening, very frightening.
Yeah, it's wild. And there's a new statistic out as well that talks about how 80% of autoimmune diseases come from women. And it's because we have a hard time saying no. And you might think of like, oh no, that's just why is it that word? But with the word no comes boundaries. If you're asked to attend a meeting that wasn't on your calendar for months and all of a sudden it's spare of the moment and thrown on your plate, that no or that reschedule request could have been a boundary, right? If somebody asks you to make cupcakes for your kids' class 24 hours prior and you have all these other things to do, that no could have been a boundary, right? And what is happening is when you are not having those boundaries, you yourself is getting pushed further down the list. What happens if you were going to take a bath or meditate or go to therapy or go on a walk or just sit and decompress after a long day, but now you have these other tasks that are on your plate, right? Something else that can happen is resentment. If you didn't want to go to that meeting, but like you're begrudgingly going, resentment builds up and those emotions can get trapped in your body. And that's where the anxiety comes from. That's where the unwanted emotions come up, the anger, the frustration, also the suppression of emotions as well, ladies. We feel like we have to be happy, put together all the time, right? But in reality, we can be struggling. Our kid can be having issues. They may have to go to the doctor. Your husband may be looking for a job. You might be having marital or relational problems. And something else you mentioned, LaWanna, too, is being sandwiched in the two generations, right? So you're taking care of your kids and then you're also taking care of your parents, right? That is a lot. And we need to acknowledge that it's a lot because what happens is when we suppress those emotions and we're like, everything's fine, those emotions are going to have to come out somehow. They're going to come out in an explosion. You might be more irritable. You also may end up in the ER because you're stressed out. That's where those sicknesses come in. And that's where like your immune system gets shot because you're just suppressing everything and taking everything on. And soon your body's going to be like, nope, we're done. And I wish I knew the warning signs before I ended up in urgent care in the ER. So if you wouldn't mind, LaWanna, I would love to share the story of how this all happened. So I was working at a specific nonprofit and we would work 45 hours one week, 40 hours the other week in order to get every other Friday off, right? And I went to travel to New York to go see an author for his book launch. And then I came back and I was going, working extra long hours. It was also around the holidays. So we had these extra parties. Also, a lot of people come to me for advice. And this is before I had boundaries around that. So I was just giving, going. And that Friday I'd return. I'm like, I'm going to rest this weekend. But it was too late. And I ended up fainting. And when the EMT came to my house, he said it's like I had too many Google tabs open in my brain, right? And so you know how a Google window will just shut down? That's pretty much what my brain did, and I ended up fainting. And then I had a few other like stress-related illnesses that took me to the ER. And these things can look like, you know, a cold, a flu, something that won't go away. Some of the warning signs can look like, you know, you're more irritable. You don't have drive like you used to. Some of the things that used to bring you joy don't bring you joy. You'll also feel it in your body. Like for a long time, I felt like I got hit by a car because I was just going, and like not allowing my emotions to cycle through in a healthy way. So I wish I would have known those warning signs, and that's why I'm sharing them with you. So if you're experiencing them, you can try to catch the burnout before it takes you out, before it takes you to the ER, urgent care, or something even worse.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And we think about, like you said, no is, it's not bad to say no. It allows you to create boundaries.
Mhm.
Now, how I was brought up is no is actually very negative.
Oh yeah.
And you don't say no, you find another way to express why you're not going to do something. But I
Mhm.
was always taught, if it's in your power, right?
Yeah.
Your ability to do something, especially when it's serving and being there for others, you make it happen.
Yeah.
And even now, when I have to pull back, I feel guilty still.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not the only one.
I don't feel totally at peace to just say no when I know, guys, it would have only taken an hour.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're not the only one who is going through that. So actually, if it's okay, I would love to share a boundary sheet that I created because I've learned that there are many women who have a hard time saying no. And it's like, although, and I understand no is a full sentence, but again, because we were raised from childhood to say yes, to be polite, to agree, and all of those things, it can feel uncomfortable. So I created a free download called 10 Ways to Say No. So if you don't feel comfortable just saying no, it's no, I can't commit at this time. Or one of my favorites is, I don't think I'd be able to give this the attention that it deserves, so I cannot commit at this time, or I can't commit. Things like that to help you learn how to put boundaries in place, but that also help you to feel comfortable as well. Because in my research, I've seen women feel guilty about saying no. They feel like if they don't do it, no one else will do it. They feel like it's an obligation. You know, I've been doing this for so long, so I can't stop now. But you must. If it's going to take away your peace, if it's going to affect your health, whether that's mental, physical, or spiritual, you've got to start pulling back. So I can share that with you, LaWanna, and you're welcome to put that in the show notes. I think that'd be very helpful for the
Yes,
audience.
yes. Thank you. No, I appreciate that. I cannot believe we are almost out of time.
Yeah, it shocks me, but it doesn't shock me.
So before we close out, I'm going to just turn it over to you again, Angel, just to I know you have an upcoming event, so I'd like you to share that with the audience. But then, if there's any words of wisdom that you'd like to impart, we're all ears.
Yeah. So I am hosting an event if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on July 25th called the Summer Self-Care Spa Immersion. And what that is mixing together mental health and having speakers pour into you and help you with boundaries and all the things that we've talked about today, and luxury. We're going to be able to enjoy the spa amenities. And I was telling my audience yesterday, we're halfway through the year, right? This is the perfect time to be thinking about, how have I been treating myself? How have I been going about my New Year's resolutions? How have I been using and exercising my boundaries? And if it's great, then I want you to celebrate that, because ladies, we need to celebrate the good things that we're doing in life. A lot of times we can be our own worst critics, and celebration ends up at the very bottom of our list, right? And then if you're realizing like, oof, I have not been taking care of myself, I need to start doing this. Give yourself grace. But if you're in the DFW area, I invite you to come to the Summer Self-Care Spa Immersion on July 25th. And I can drop those details as well, because the location is, I'm not like broadcasting the location a lot, you know, but that would be a way to jumpstart your reset. If you're needing a reset, you're needing to take care of yourself and all of those things, I encourage you to attend. So I'll have that link in the show notes as well. And if you're not in the DFW area, I offer one-on-one coaching, and we can get creative with it, where we do a session and then I send you to the spa, right? And these sessions are for working through any burnout that you may have experienced. It may be working through the anxiety, figuring out why you can't say no. And this will be a safe space for you and I to build and create sustainable self-care habits for you and for your life. And that way you won't burn out again. And that way you can live your life free. And something I was telling my audience yesterday, I talk to my audience a lot, but you have to think about the cost, right? Right now, you might just be in survival mode saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. I can't invest in this. But 5 years down the line, your body may give out. Those autoimmune diseases may come and you may end up in the ER and urgent care and all of those things. And there's still going to be a cost to that because there's doctor bills and other things. So I say invest in you, take this time, make self-care a preventative measure for you. And we didn't get too much into about like what my definition of self-care means, but it really just means, in short, to take care of oneself. It doesn't have to be this big ritual of like waking up at 6 a.m., doing cold plunges, working out, and only eating salad, but it's micro habits and doing short changes, short walks, short meditations, adding a little bit more veggies on your plate than starch, opposed to just having a whole, rice bowl and meal. So those are some shiny nuggets of wisdom I would love to to leave with you. And I hope this has been helpful. Again, LaWanna and I only had 20 minutes. So there's so much more. There's so many layers to this. So I hope this helps whet your appetite a little bit.
Yes, this has been great, Angel. Thank you so very much to our listening audience. The contact information is below for Angel Theodore. Reach out if you want to get information about our upcoming spa summit, and as well as information about how you can do a better job at taking care of this beautiful self that is you. I know I'm going to be tapping into it because I'm feeling just a lot of pressure from a lot of things, and it's okay. And we think we're handling it, but I think I can do some things better. So it's about knowing better so that we can do better. Yes?
Amen. Yes. And if I could just say one more thing.
Yes, please.
Don't do it alone. Like if you are thinking like, oh, I can go on this journey by myself, I encourage you not to, and to have accountability and to have someone to go on the journey with you. And this will help shorten your time of having to go on the journey. So something I didn't share earlier is I've been in this game in Sphere for 12 years. And a portion of that was stumbling and figuring out what worked and what didn't and all of those things. And so I spent the money. So now others don't have to. Like I can give you the blueprint so you don't have to figure out what works. I already know what works. And so that is the beauty of not doing this work alone.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so very much again, Angel. We'll definitely have to have you come back when we have more time. And to our listening audience, again, please reach out to Angel Theodore. And just remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. But it first starts with choice. And it first starts with loving you so much that you won't compromise you for anything. Let that sink in. Bye for now.
Are you ready to defy gravity and challenge the impossible? Meet LaWanna Bradford, the visionary leader behind Choose to Challenge on E360 TV. Now in its 5th season, this groundbreaking show shines a spotlight on voices of change from across the globe. Born during the pandemic, Choose to Challenge becomes a platform for transformation where no topic is off limits. Every episode highlights individuals breaking barriers, rewriting narratives, and making an impact. Ready to share your story and inspire change? Call 404-618-2824 to become a guest. This is your moment to rise. Tune in now at e360tv.com. Your voice matters. Let's change the world together.
All right. I am so excited because we are doing a little something different on the second half of Choose the Challenge. And this is where we get to introduce some dynamic individuals in the entrepreneurial lane. And today we have none other than Michelle Clarkson. How's it going, Michelle?
It is going great. Thank you for having me today, LaWanna.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule and saying yes. And we're just going to do a little bit deep dive and kind of unpackage who is Michelle and what's all this buzz about meaningful moments of power. So, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what makes you tick?
Absolutely. So I am Michelle Clarkson, founder of Meaningful Moments of Power, and I help high achieving professional women who have been operating on autopilot in survival mode focus on what matters, switch those behaviors so that they can reclaim their voice, rebuild authority, and walk in their secure power. And how I got to that place as a woman who has had a life where I have experienced a lot of challenges, going back to my younger years when I was in college. I was in a relationship that ended up being a domestic abusive relationship. And as a result of that, one of the only good things that came from that was I ended up having a daughter. And so that was the thing that made me say, okay, hey, your child deserves better. And so that's what I was able to use to be able to leave that relationship. And then upon leaving that relationship, having to rebuild myself, my life, my character, who are you? And to learn what real love is about. And real love starts with respecting myself. So after therapy and my faith and regaining myself, I later went on and was married and ended up having to be divorced. And so it's like, here we are again, Michelle, you're back to a season of rebuilding your life, but only this time the rebuilding was a little different because when I got divorced, I was divorced in a city where I had no family, no support system, just me, my children, and God. So it made that rebuild a little more difficult. And I really, at that time, poured myself into my work, just making sure I was that woman that was operating on autopilot in survival mode, just pouring into my work, trying to increase myself up the corporate ladder because I knew that my job was my livelihood and how I was going to be able to take care of my children. And so in doing that, it brought me to wanting to be able to help women so that they don't have to deal with those things and to be able to help women to understand that you have a voice and the importance of using that voice, but also being able to teach women awareness in how we lose the voice. A lot of women don't even realize that they're operating on autopilot or over functioning, as I like to term it. And so that's where Meaningful Moments of Power came from, where I am the woman that helps women stop self-abandoning themselves.
I love that. You said something, and I put it in 3 R's. You said that you were able to rebuild your life, you were able to reclaim your voice, and you were able to be in a position where you could respect yourself, i.e., self love. And it's interesting that we as women, the nurturer of humanity, right? We birth great nations. That so many of us struggle in those 3 areas. And we're going to get back into that because I want to unpackage that piece as it sits into what you do in your business, Meaningful Moments of Power. But I want us to roll back the hands of time, go way, way back. Tell us about your childhood and the most impactful thing that you remembered as a child, your earliest memory that you believe shaped who you are today, or at least a part of who you are today.
You see the smile. It's like the childhood that I lived really helped to shape who Michelle Clarkson is. I was born in Gary, Indiana. Yes, the hometown of Michael Jackson. And my parents at the age of 5 decided that they wanted to leave Gary and we relocated to Indianapolis. They wanted to provide a better life for myself and my brother. They said that they didn't want to spend their time just working in the steel mill. So we relocated to Indianapolis, and my father at the time in Gary was a janitor in the school system. When he relocated to Indianapolis, he started working for a utility company. And as a young child, I watched him build himself up from the ground up, going from coming in to the company and building himself up to an executive at the time that he retired. And then with my mother, she took herself and went back to school, got her college degree when I was in high school. And so we both graduated together. So going back to an early age, I saw the importance of not giving up, doing all that you can, but the professionalism that I was able to watch as I watched my father navigate and lead teams and be a leader that was an empathetic leader, a leader that truly cared about his team and building them up. So as a young girl, yes, I was playing with dolls, but when people would call and someone wasn't home, I was the one that was making messages and writing them down on a notepad with the time and all of that, as being the secretary at 7 years old. So the one thing from my childhood that I can say that impacted me into who I am today is being able to watch both of my parents work hard and build themselves up in corporate America, but just that professionalism, how you carry yourself, how you treat other people. And so those are the things that shape me as I continue to grow. And once I started getting into things that I enjoyed in high school and things like that, a lot of those things involved, this is something where I can speak at. So when I was in high school, I was involved in public speaking and volunteering for things like that and helping people out, but always being the person that was the voice of reason that people came to for support, or the person that lended, my voice for support or a helping hand. So those are the things from my childhood that impacted me into who I am today, to be the woman that wants to make sure that I'm making a difference in the lives of other women.
I love that. And it's amazing when we step back and it's like, wow, these seeds were planted so young, right?
Yeah.
And then as you go through your own lived experiences, they're germinating in a way, as you said, it blossoms into who you are today. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned you saw the professionalism in your parents, but you used a particular word in describing your father. You said you saw him as an empathetic leader. Where we are today in the world, in a disruptive environment, in a time of uncertainty, not just here in the US, but around the world, why is empathetic leadership so important?
Empathetic leadership is so important because one thing, when you are a leader, your team is only as strong as your leader. And when you are able to show empathy and show your team members that you truly care about them, that is what makes people, one, feel important, feeling seen, feeling heard, and knowing that I have someone who has my back, someone that I can look up to and learn from. But not only that, someone that I know if I need help and support, they're going to do that. And one thing that I watched with him is the way that he uplifted other people. Like, he was a mentor to so many people, not just people that reported to him, even up until his death. And even today, my mother still has people that reach out to her from his professional life, people that he mentored, and that was the impact that he had. And so I think today we don't see that as much with leaders because, one, things have changed in the corporate world. And I think a lot of the work-life balance and the demands that are placed on some of our leaders, a lot of leaders are just in that go, go, go. And just like I talk about the over-functioning woman that I help, there are a lot of high-achieving professional women that are leaders, but they're just operating on autopilot. And so sometimes they don't have the opportunity to really be able to see that I'm not really pouring into my team or supporting them in that manner. And when you can be that empathetic leader, it does so much for the people that you manage and that you're working with, because you are really being a part of their success by pouring into them with your knowledge, your heart, and letting them know how much you truly care. You're on mute.
I'm on mute, so I'll adjust that. We are here with Michelle Clarkson, and we are talking about her life, unpackaging how she shows up, and Meaningful Moments of Power is her company. And we were unpackaging how we can, when we look back, realize how much of who we are is seated in our lived experiences and who poured into us and who we saw as our first mentors and examples. And she gave a beautiful story about her parents, and we're talking about empathetic leadership. But now let's get right into meaningful moments of power.
Yes.
Number one, how did you come up with the name? And number two, remember we were talking about those 3 R's, right? You rebuild, you reclaim, and then you were able to respect yourself.
Yes.
Give us the intersect of this business concept and construct, the origin of its name, and then how it bridges to success in those 3 areas.
Awesome. So as far as just the concept of meaningful moments of power and where it came from, as I shared about the challenges and struggles that I went through, once I was able to overcome, domestic abuse, at that point in time, I said, I want to be able to help other women, but I didn't act on it. And then after going through my divorce and navigating the challenges of being a single mother while navigating corporate America, just the demands of your time, the financial struggles that may go behind being a single mom at times, I said then, I want to help other women, and I didn't at that time. And so it wasn't until my father passed away that he reminded me of the voice that I have and what I've been saying for so long that I wanted to do. And he told me, you need to use your voice. So that is really where the nudge came to me that now is the time, and I stepped into my purpose. And so where meaningful moments of power came from, because at first I was just doing more so motivational speaking and inspiration. And so I was dropping those meaningful moments of power onto other women. So that's where the name came from. But the intersection that happened was from the things that I had to overcome, going back to those 3 R's, those were the things that the foundation of meaningful moments of power were built on, and the things that I said that I want to be able to help other women with. So the things that I dealt with in life brought me to meaningful moments of power so that I could be able to be the one to be the relief for a woman, to help her understand that you are fine, you are not broken. There is just a shift that needs to happen, and I am here to help with that recalibration. So that's where the intersection in the two came to be, with the focus, as you highlighted, on those 3 R's that I mentioned. The rebuild.
I love that. And you're giving women, it seems like in your space, in your coaching, you're giving individuals space to take up space and to say it's okay, right? You're giving permission, and it's sad to think that sometimes we are seeking for permission just to show up in our authenticity and reclaim that voice, right? And hold on to it.
Yes, yes. Yes. And one of the things within my coaching that I work with a lot of my clients on is I have developed what I call my 5-step secure power method. And one of the 5 steps is ownership. And the ownership piece is so important, going back to what you just said, and that permission. Like, you have permission to be whoever you want to be and do whatever you want to do. Love yourself, but you have to own that. And it's not until you do that that the shift you won't see the shift, you won't see the change in your life until you totally own who you are.
I love that. And that's a perfect transition to this next question, as I believe everyone is a superhero, right? We are brought here for a time such as this, and it's what we do within the space of time. And so I want to ask you, Michelle, what impact do you bring to humanity as a superhero? And what do you want your legacy to be?
Awesome. And what a question. It's like, that is awesome. I would say the impact that I bring to the world as a superhero is the impact to people for them to understand the greatness that exists within them and being able to help them, if they're not aware of that greatness, to be able to help them to pull that with that's already inside, to pull that out of them so that they can operate from power and have a life that is fulfilling. So being able with my superpower to be the one to instill, if it's not there, and pull it out of you, the greatness that exists in all of us, and helping people to understand how amazing we truly are.
And the second part of that question, at the end of the day, when people think back on Michelle Clarkson, what's your legacy going to say?
When people think back on Michelle Clarkson, they will say that she was a woman who was willing to pour into others. She always had high energy. She was so positive, and she operated from that all the time and made others feel good. You know, people will say that Michelle Clarkson was the one that I could always go to if I needed support. She was always willing to lend a helping hand to others, to uplift them. And that is the thing that I think is part of my legacy, but I know that that will be one of the things that people will say about Michelle Clarkson is the way that she poured into others, making them feel amazing and helping them to understand the light that's within them. One thing that I say all the time to people is remember, the world needs you. And we need each and every one to remember that the world does need all of us. And so if anything, that will be what people will say about me, is that I wanted people to remember how important they are and that they have gifts and give it to the world.
I love that. That's beautiful. So when we spoke in the past, you gave a particular quote, and I'm actually going to put it here on the screen. Now, let's talk about it a little bit before we close this show. Let me do it this way because I want to make sure people can see it well. Here we go. Boundaries don't just protect your peace. They treat other people. They teach other people. Let me make this correction here. We are at 17-minute mark. That's why I like pre-recording. Okay, here we go. You stated when we spoke a few weeks ago, you were sharing a lot of salient points, and this quote stood out to me. Boundaries don't just protect your peace, they teach other people how to treat you.
Absolutely.
If you don't mind just unpackaging that a little bit before we go and let people know how to contact you.
Yes, awesome. And that statement is something that's a pillar that I live by and I teach other people, because one thing, when people think about boundaries, sometimes when they hear the word boundaries, they're thinking, oh, well, I don't want anyone around me. That is exactly the opposite of what boundaries mean. Boundaries are a way that you teach people how to treat you, because when you set boundaries, you're saying, okay, hey, no, that does not align with me, or I'm not going to do that because of how it made me feel, what have you. But when you start setting boundaries and people know that, okay, hey, I can't continue to test you with this that I've been messing with you on, they then know, oh, she's not going to entertain that. And so you're teaching someone else how to treat you. A prime example when it comes to relationships, a lot of times when I work with women sometimes and I tell them that you teach a man how to treat you, and it first starts with the way that you respect yourself. Those are the boundaries that you're placing on yourself. And so if you have boundaries where you're respecting yourself and someone else is able to see that, well, they know how they must treat you. So our boundaries are so important because, yes, they protect our peace, but they also teach other people how to treat you and the things that you will or will not tolerate. So that's why they are so important. And when we set boundaries, there should be no guilt that you feel about them at all. So that's something that, I continue to teach women, teach anyone, that your boundaries are so important. And so one of the things also I think you said is letting everyone know how they can connect with me.
Yes.
So you can connect with me on my socials, on Facebook at Michelle Clarkson, or on LinkedIn at Michelle Clarkson, or you can reach out to me directly at michelle@meaningfulmomentsofpower.com.
Oh, Michelle, this has been amazing. We're already out of time, but again, I'm going to put this information below so you'll know exactly how to reach out, connect with Michelle, learn more about what she's doing. And if you are a woman who feels like, how do I rebuild? How do I reclaim my voice? How do I start to respect and love myself? Michelle Clarkson is the guide to help you get there. Michelle, thank you so very much for joining us for Choose to Challenge.
Thank you so much, LaWanna, for the opportunity to be here today.
Thank you. And for those of you, join us next week for another edition of Choose to Challenge. And remember that in life and in business, when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. Be safe, be well. Bye for now.